Okay, hi. In this video, we're gonna talk about, we're gonna build the armature for your clay bust. And a bust is from the shoulders up. And so we're gonna build the paper structure that our clay will go on. And we're gonna sort of use these as our guides. We will be using them throughout the whole project. So just have them ready. So you need your armature board, okay? Now, most of the armature boards have the clay or the pole directly in the center. There are a few of them that have it closer to the back than the front, and that is exactly right. So like if it is closer to the back, then that is the back of your sculpture, and the more area you have will be in the front. If it's in the middle, it's okay too. It's just that some of them were adjusted later on to kind of accommodate that there's more happening in the front. But either way, your board is set up. So again, if you have a narrower space on one side, that is the back of your sculpture. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our paper. I'm gonna try to move this so it's a little bit, you can see that a little bit better. You're gonna start with your paper and you're gonna crumple up some paper. So just get a good amount of paper crumpled. And then we're gonna get some taped lines going. About 7 pieces, and then I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to just set some tape along, I'm going to make lines of tape and set them along the side of the table so they're ready when I need to grab them, instead of trying to hold the paper and get taped at the same time. So I don't know, what's that, 2 feet? 2 feet to a foot of tape. Stick them on the edge of my table. Don't stick together, you little boo-boo. There you go. All right, now I'm gonna start building the shoulders. So I take 2 crumplers and I put them on either side. Now, when you do the shoulders and you're thinking about this from the side view, or like you're thinking about this, realize that there's like the pole is going to be straight in here, right? Boop. So in this case, there's, compared to the pole, there's going to be a little bit more weight on the back in paper only, right? So if your pole is like, you want your pole to go around the ear line, right? You're gonna have some more paper towards the back. So I kind of crumple these, I put them like this, but I realize that this is gonna be the back of my sculpture. And there will be some room around there. So I'm just gonna kind of tape the first one to each other around the pole, just with one little piece. And then I'm gonna add another one. And see how when I add it, I'm adding it not to the front, although there is some tape and stuff there. I'm adding it closer to the back. I'm gonna do one on each side like that. Okay, and then I'm gonna tape them. So I'm gonna do one at a time. When I tape around like this. And the tape is just there to hold it in place, really. So another one here. this side. Oh, crumb. Okay, that's a good start. I'm going to add one more on each side, and then I'm going to start going up. I need to get more tape ready. So that's 4 pieces so far. I'm going to do 6 total if you like to have like specifics, but it doesn't have to be exactly the same that I do, but if you're kind of a literal person, this will help. So then I crumple it and I'm putting it on like it's the shoulder area. It almost looks like a loaf of submarine sub-sandwich. Thundercloud going on over here. I don't make that. Hold on. Couldn't do 2 things at once. Okay. Put it on here. Oh, shucks. Oh, shucks. There we go. Oh, shucks. Get back over there. Okay, I'm kind of happy with that. Now I'm going to go up. I'm going to probably take another one from the back here. And kind of, like this one, I'm kind of just letting it, most of the weight's on the back, and then I kind of let it run around the front like that. And then I just take some tape and kind of go around. Again, the tape is there to hold things together. It does not need to be taped super tight. If you tape it super tight, it makes it hard to pull out at the end. Okay, so now you can see from the side, like, it's kind of curved in like this. Pew, pew. And it's thinner here than it is back here. That's because your head angles, right? Most of the clay head will be working up here though. So just remember that you're keeping the front, and the back, and the back. I'm gonna crinkle some more paper. And then I'm going to make some more tape for myself just to be ready. Okie dokie. So now I'm going to do one more just wrapped around the neck area, like that. Oh, shucks. And now I'm going to start building on the head. So one in the top. 1, 2. At first I'm going for a sphere. Okay. So I got, that's like 3 or 4 pieces on there that I sphericize. And then I'm just going to do a layer of tape to that sphere. This is just the first bit, right? Okay, now I'm going to look at that, right? I'm obviously going to need to add more, and I'm going to need to add the front part, but I just want it to be pretty much a sphere to begin with. I'm gonna crumple more. Let's start with another 3 sheets. Right, I'm gonna put one on the back, one on the top, and one on the front. Okay, and then I'm gonna tape all those together. If you can't hold 3 at once, no big deal. Just tape one at a time. So for example, if I want to add one to the bottom, I can just take my tape and go do, and then add another one and tape, and add another one and tape. So you don't have to try to hold them all at once, because it takes, you know, a couple of hands worth of work. So I'll just do them one at a time. I'm gonna add one more to the top. Okay, now I'm gonna add this one to the front. I'm adding it kind of high, not low. I'm gonna add another one low. So I'm adding one to the front up here. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of look at this. All right, now the things I need to notice is that I added one to the front, and it's roughly it's roughly spherical here now. But what I need to do is make sure there's more on the front, and that the chin comes down, right? And that there's less on the back. So like this is the back, right? That is more, this line is more than enough. In fact, it should come in a little bit, right? Because when you look at it, you want your back to stick out further than your front. So I'm gonna need to add a little bit more clay back here because I added maybe a little bit too much up here. But that's okay. We're gonna look at it again at the end. Right now, I'm looking at it and I need more under here. So I'm gonna take a half sheet to start with to build the jawline, right? And I've crumpled that half sheet and I'm just putting it on under here. Oops. And then like this. I'm gonna add it on, and I'm gonna tape underneath like it's like a chin strap on a. And then I'm gonna do one across the front. Okay, so I'm looking at it again, and I'm starting to get a pretty good shape. It's a little small. I'm gonna add a little bit more to it. And I'm going to add another piece. I'm going to take this extra half piece. I don't know if you can see. I'm going to take this extra half piece and I'm going to add it here. I need my back to stick out. I need the back to stick out further than the back of the head. So this is much further down, so I need a little more back here. Okay. Now, it's getting closer. Now my head is just gonna need another piece back here. So when I look at it, I don't know if you can see, try to get you to see a little bit better. When I look at it, it's too narrow back here, so I'm gonna add some more clay or some more paper around here. Because remember, the back of the skull is wider than the front, so I'm just gonna add myself a little more paper up around the top of that head right back there, to sort of fill out that area. Oh, shucks. Remember, the clay is going over this, so this is just kind of a okay. Now I'm going to look at it from the front. Oops. Come on. I think this tape is not as good as I wish it was. So I'm going to just do a rough couple of measurements here just to check some points. And notice this is still, it's not hard as a rock, right? It still has a little bit of squish to it. You don't want it hard as a rock. You also don't want it super squishy. If it's hard as a rock, you won't be able to pull out the paper at the end. If it's super squishy, it can like melt and then not hold the weight of the clay. So there's kind of a line between those two things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the width to height measurement, right? So if you remember in our sketching here, the height from the bottom of the chin to the top of the head is the same from the back of the skull to the front of the brow. So it's this measurement to this measurement. And right now, if I take that and I'm gonna just, I have a ruler here. If I just use the ruler as like a guide and I measure from here to here, right? I have about 6 inches, which is pretty good. But if I measure from the top of this skull right to the bottom, it's not 6 inches. So I know I need to add some more paper to the top of my head. So right now it's at about, I need about a ½ an inch, at least almost an inch, to add to the top of this. So to make it length and width equal. So I'm going to take one more piece of paper, I'm going to add it to the top here. And 6 inches is a pretty good internal size. Like, it doesn't have to be exactly 6 inches, y'all, because it's proportions, right? It's not exact measurements. But 6 inches is a pretty okay height to start with. That average being 8 inches. So when you add clay, you know, 6 inches is a good internal size structure. So let me measure again. I'm going to measure this to this, and I feel like I did it. I feel like I'm happy. 6 inches. I knew that it didn't change. And then I put this here. That's 6 inches, and I'm happy. So now this and this are equal. I can now check this to this, right? So we know that the overall height is 6 inches from here to here, and that's what we want. So I will double check mine and say, yep, it's 6 inches. Well, then I need 2/3 of 6 inches, and I can't do that in my head. I have to, like, I could do that in my head, but I just don't want to hurt myself. It's Friday, so I'm gonna do a little calculations. Right, 2/3 is it's 6.666666 repeating. So if I multiply that by 6, 4 inches. So this needs to be 4 inches wide. And I could have done that in my head, but so I just took 2 divided by 3 and got the decimal points, 6.666, and then I multiplied that by my overall height, whatever yours is, and then it gave me 4 inches. And 4 inches should be the width of my sculpture here. So if I take one measurement from here, right straight out, give you a better view. Or maybe I should get my little sticks again, even though I'm not in clay yet. It's helpful, doesn't hurt. Especially if you're like doing this and you're like, you don't have enough hands to do everything, you can always like tape your sticks to the edge. So like if I put a stick here, right, and a stick here, just hold this one, and I measure between those 2 lines. Can I do it on the right side so I don't have to do any math thinking? I'm at 3.25 inches. So I need to add more here and here to make this in proportion. Could you see that? I want to show you again. If I go from here to here and I measure, I'm at 3.5 or 3.25 inches, and we know it needs to be 4. So I need to add equal amounts on either side. So I'm going to take some paper and I'm going to rip it in half and crumple. I'm going to put one here, and I'm going to take the other half crumpled and put it here. Okay? I need to get my tape ready again. It's like Princess Leia ears falling off over here. Remember, the widest part is towards the back. So I added them sort of towards the back. Now I'm going to just measure again. So I'm going to just tape this here. Just give myself some freehand action. Put that there. Make sure it's kind of coming out straight. You know, you could easily, these can easily be wonky if you're not, you got to straighten them. I mean, they're like, it could be like that. That's not good. So just make sure they're kind of straight coming out from your point. And then I'm going to measure one more time. This time I'm pretty good at 4 inches. So I know I'm happy with, so I've checked this to this, and now I've checked this to this, and I'm pretty good. I'm gonna just do any more looking. Now, there's a trickiness to how wide your shoulders are, and people tend to make the paper too wide down here. I like to cut my shoulders off, so I keep it pretty narrow down here. Rule of thumb, though, is that your head, if you take the length of the head here, right? The height, which we said was 6 inches, and come down from the mid, turn that sideways, come down from the midline, your shoulders will be 1, 2 of that. So twice the height will be the width of your shoulders. So this should be about 12 inches. I prefer, it's at 9 right now. I prefer it to be smaller because I like to not sculpt the whole shoulders. These boards are too short for that. I like to cut my bust off at the shoulder, and I do like a fancy, I don't know, it's like how the Romans did it. It's called a herm, but or it's like a herm. You cut it off here, and instead of sculpting all the way to the shoulder. These aren't tall enough to do much more than just the head. If you wanted to do more of the body, you'd need a different sculpture. So now, our different armature. So now I'm gonna just check this, and I'm gonna just tape some areas that I think are too squishy. But I'm pretty happy actually. And then I'm gonna check this back again, right? See that back view? So you can see it from almost a 3/4 view, that this, right, is on an angle. You have to make it that way because the pole comes out straight. So you have to make this on an angle, or your person, nobody's head, like from the side of my body, there's stuff back here. Nobody's head comes out like this. You can't stand like that. It's weird. So you have to give them that angle. All right, but this is it. I am ready to add clay in the next class. So I'm very happy. Actually, I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. And it is really ready to roll for adding clay.